To quickly get this out of the way, spoilers. If you haven't finished Dawntrail, I'd click off now. The bulk of the problems I have with this expansion are story related, and you might come out with a different view of the story than me if you play it yourself. I didn't like it, but you might. So this is gonna be kind of a off-the-cuff thing. I have problems with the MSQ of Dawntrail. The gameplay's been good so far. I recently just finished the dungeons, the new ones, the new extreme dungeons, and they're pretty good. But I have a couple of points here that I want to talk about. I'm not gonna go super deep into it. I did try to make a script and all that. That didn't pan out that well. I think I talk a little bit better off script because I'm not that good of a writer in the first place, and I'm not a good orator either. But we'll give it a shot. So. First problem, pacing. I get that I've played all the expansions, right? So they've always had pacing issues. Yeah, it's really bad. I think I was playing, well, the first I streamed it, and I went back to look, and I think it's 4 or 5 hours before I do any sort of like monster killing. And usually that's fine, whatever. We're learning about the world and story, and they're introducing new things, but the writing wasn't hooking me, so the wait between when I got to do something other than press next on the cutscene really hurt. And it's sad because like the dungeons are good. They are, I enjoyed them a lot. The story ones are like about on par with what they'd normally be, but the new dungeons, I think they're called extremes. No, that's the trials. What are they called? I'm not powering it up. The new dungeons that you get after the story are over are both very good. There's even like there's only one interesting trash pack, but it is still very interesting, and I do hope they continue down the line with other dungeons that'll come out in the patches with more interesting trash packs. But the bosses are great. Those are great. Another issue I have with the main story content, there's not that many duties that are interesting in this expansion. I'm talking about like the single player duties that would put you in control of another character or something like that. In Endwalker, we had one where we played as Thancred, and there was a stealth mission. And I thought, like, it's barely a stealth mission, but it was still fun. I thought that was a pretty good duty. In From the Cold, where the Warrior of Light his soul gets transferred into the body of an unknown Imperial, is amazing. It's one of the best duties they've ever done. Not only the story implications, but being helpless felt really cool, especially with the stakes on hand. Like, you don't know if you're going to make it in time, right? When you get back there, your teammates could be all dead. One of your favorite scions could be killed, and you just hope for the best. That was really good. There's a few in Shadowbringers. I don't remember them as well, and they were mostly just flat out battle duties without anything interesting happening. There was the one in Yulemoor that was kind of okay, and there was one where right before you save Reen, there's one in there, and that one's all right too. The best one I remember from Shadowbringers, I guess, is the patch content from Shadowbringers into Endwalker, where you control 3 different groups of scions. That one's really good. I really like that one. Oh, and there's another really good duty from Stormblood into Shadowbringers in the Gimlet Dark. I think it's a duty. Or maybe it's just the first time No, it is a duty, because you control Hien and you're fighting Xenos while you're controlling Hien and you're buying time for the Warrior of Light to show up. And that's awesome. But to focus in on Dawntrail, you play as Wooklamat once, and that kind of just sucked. She randomly gets a big old power boost and starts killing all the ads, and Bakul Jaja does not much. Like, he doesn't do anything. It's just a very lame duty. Which sucks, because there were a few instances where I would expect there to be a duty. One is hopeful on my part, well, 2 are hopeful on my part, and one I really expected to actually be a duty. So there is what's it called? There's like a cooking festival where you gather the ingredients beforehand, and all that. And this is one of the ones that I would hope happen. I was hoping for a cooking minigame. That's basically what I was hoping for. And we didn't get it. That's a hopeful one for me, so I don't blame them too much. The other hopeful one was way later in living memory, in one of the final areas. There is a homage to FF9, where in FF9 they're putting on a play, and in one sequence you have to do action commands, like press the buttons in the right order to do a sword fight. There's a sword fight in Dawntrail that you play alongside Llamas, and I thought, oh, this would be really cool if they recreated the minigame, but they don't. So that kind of sucks. But the one that I really think should have, and probably maybe was, a single player duty, you get on a train, right? And there's these turrets, and the Warrior of Light gets on one of the turrets. And I'm thinking, okay, here's our first goofy, not goofy, but what's the word? Gimmicky duty, right? Sometimes you play as Thancred, sometimes you're playing as an unknown Imperial. This time we're going to do a shooting gallery, right? Shoot the guys out of the sky. I thought that was going to be really cool. You don't. The MSQ in this expansion has been very dull gameplay wise, and that sucks because it's also dull story wise. And the first big problem I have is the use of the Scions, man. For me, I come back for those guys. I love the Scions. Alphinaud, Alize, Urianger, and Thancred, all of them. That's basically what I play the game for, is to see their development, see what they're getting up to. This is like my long-term show sort of deal, my soaps. It goes on forever, but I still want to see what happens. But in Dawntrail, they're used very poorly, or not at all in some cases. In the not at all category, you have Y'shtola, Estinian. They say a few words. Y'shtola gets to like explain some things to certain characters about how shards work and what she thinks is happening. She doesn't do anything else really, other than be a part of the trials, which is disappointing. But I get it. They're saving her for later. Estinian also shows up, I think, 3 times. Once he's fighting Galul Jaja, and that was cool. And then he's gone for 6 levels, 5 or 6 levels, and shows up in the cowboy town and kind of does the same thing. He says, hey, what's up? And then beats the shit out of some people. Yeah, so they're basically not in the story. Thancred and Urianger are a little bit better. They take on a mentor role for Koana. Or Kona? They take on a mentor role for Kona, right? So they're kind of serving the same... They're basically doing the same thing we're doing for Llamas, right? They're going to make sure he has a chance to sit on the throne. And there's a few good moments with them. They give him some advice. They try to cheer him up when he's down and try to reinforce his good traits. We don't spend enough time with them to actually see a full arc play out. Yeah, that kind of sucked. Not that it was super terrible or anything. It just... I honestly feel like Kona should have been the main character. He's a lot more interesting overall compared to Llamas. He has a plan, for one. Like, he actually knows what he wants to do when he sits on the throne. The character we're stuck with doesn't. She just kind of spouts off how she's going to keep the peace and I love everybody, and sometimes she'll go into the whole motion sickness arc, which is annoying. My belly hurts. Oh, Warrior of Light, save me. Will you hold my hand while my tummy hurts? I bet they thought that was really endearing. I didn't think so. I thought it was annoying. Like, maybe the first time is kind of okay, and then it happens like 5 more times. 3 on a ship, and I think she does it twice for heights. Why are you a claimant? You're terrible. Like, not only is she not a good fighter, she says so herself that she's weak. She has no plan for the throne. I guess she just plans to do whatever her father's doing, which is to be the big old scary guy, right? He makes sure things run, because if they don't run correctly, well, this is speculation on my part, because honestly, Tuliala in general doesn't have a lot going on, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. I want to talk about Wook a little bit more. She's the same character from the first time you meet her to the very end. Some things happen to her, right? She loses her father, she loses her brother, she has to fight her brother, which didn't turn out to be that interesting. The family dynamics are just, I get it. I get what they were going for, right? Found family, but it's a little bit tattered. The actual biological son is the bad one. Yeah, okay. He had a lot on his shoulders, blah, blah, blah. It just wasn't interesting, though. If it didn't capture me with the writing, I'm not gonna gush over it, which is another thing that this expansion kind of screws up. They go for a lot of big moments. Like when Vanna's walking down the abyss, that's a huge moment. You feel for her. With every splatter of blood that covers her, you feel worse and worse for her, right? Or when Xenos breaks through as Shinryu to confront the Endsinger, that was a huge moment, an earned moment. Dawntrail tries to do that as well, but none of them are earned. When Wuklamot ascends to the throne, it for me, this is obviously my opinion, but when Wuklamot ascends to her throne and finally declares that she's king of the pirates, and then this big uproarious song starts playing, I didn't give a shit. It was kind of stupid, which sucks because I like the song a little bit, but the moment didn't fill me with any sort of emotion like FF usually does. Artbert and Seto crushed me, dude. It was awful. Gosetsu and Yotsuyu scenes, still, it's like a icy grasp on my heart that crushes a little bit. It's sad. No moments like that in Dawntrail. Well, not entirely true, but I'll talk about it in another bit too. But yeah, I don't like Wook. There's a lot of people online saying she's the tightest to our Auron. I don't buy that because Auron was a character who had a lot of input throughout the entire story, right? We don't get that. I think there's a few times where you can say, yeah, she's not right for the throne, but it's never to her face. You have to be pretty nice to her all the time. There's very few options for you to be mean to her. And even if you could, it's not like it would matter anyways, because the options you get in FF are just for illusion of choice. They don't actually matter. So us being the Auron just feels like shit, because I don't like Wuklamot. I don't think she should be the main character. Other expansions handled this a lot better. Wuklamot is the biggest detriment to the story for me. I don't like her in general. I don't like her personality, the way she's written, how much screen time she gets, because my god, dude, does she get a lot of screen time. Every quest, there's 3 objectives that are just speak to Wuklamot. It's bad. Damn, it's bad. It's not good. And you know who suffers the worst for it? Krile. Krile suffers the worst for it. This was supposed to be her expansion. She got the whole solo thing in the trailer. She's repping the new class. And she does nothing for almost the entirety of the game. The first 5 levels, she's barely there, right? She's there to cheer on Wuklamot like the rest of the Scions, because they also don't do anything. Sometimes Alphinaud will pop in with a little bit of exposition, or Alize will be like, "Where's Wuklamot? I hope she's okay." God damn it, Alize. I still love Alize, but she's getting on my nerves a little bit. But Krile, man, I liked Krile. I still do like Krile. She's a lot less developed than a lot of the other Scions. What's there to say other than she was snubbed? When you get to the Golden City, she learns about, well, the first time you get to like the gate, she learns about her parents being from another shard. And at first, like, that's really cool. That was the first time this game, or this expansion, made my spine tingle a little bit. I was like, damn, that's a huge revelation. That's insane that her parents are from another shard and they mastered rift travel. And then it's gone for a little while. Like, that plot point is sort of dropped for a little while. And then later on, way later on, past Solution 9, past all the stuff with Sphene, who I'm not going to talk about because she's not terrible, but she's not interesting. She's kind of Emmett Silk 0.1, because she's not as good as Emmett Silk. She's the worst sequel. Not terrible, I will say that. Like, the Living Memory stuff, the Solution 9 stuff, was better than anything that happened previously in Dawntrail, but it still wasn't as good as all the other expansions. And I will say I place this in last place. This is the worst expansion. MSQ wise. Battle content wise, I don't know yet. We got to see more, but it's up there. It's good. Krile's story really picks up in Living Memory. She meets her parents finally, and they escaped from the source during the ice calamity onto a shard, or a reflection, whatever you want to call them, I don't know where to. I have speculations. I think it's the 11th for reasons that I'm not going to go into. But anyways, they go to the 11th, or I shouldn't say that because that makes it sound like fact, but it's not. They go onto a reflection to dodge the ice calamity, and then as they're on that reflection living their lives, they discover the tech to go back, basically. Well, they discovered tech to go back, and they want to use that tech to give Krile away because their reflection is in dire shit. Things are going bad. So to save their daughter, they bring her back to the source, hand her off to Galoof, give her the earring, because they want to see her again. They have a lot of faith in their daughter that she's going to grow up and be somebody who can make her way back to her parents. And it's such a sweet scene when they're voice acted. They're very sweet. Just her getting to know where she comes from, and the awkwardness at first like melts into familial bonding, and it's really nice. And she also gets a new name, her birth name, Maya. Krile should have been the main character for the second half. I don't know why they had Wooklamot as the main character in the second half. I get that her brother was the antagonist, but she doesn't know anything about shards or rift travel. Wooklamot doesn't know shit, okay? She doesn't know shit about what's going on in the grander scheme of things that isn't tied directly to Tyrell. So why is she here? It should have been Krile leading the way with the Scions backing us up and the Warrior Light kicking everybody's ass who gets in Kryle's way. That's how it should have went. Let's take it back to Tyrell again. The tribes. This whole expansion's all about meeting new cultures, right? That's on Twitter. They're making a big deal about how Mexican like Latin American culture, I guess, right? Mexico's a little bit far up north, so Latin American culture is very well represented apparently. Is it? I get that there's tacos. Look, I am ignorant on the topic. I'm not Latin, I guess. I don't know. I have a little bit of Spain and Portuguese in me, but I don't know if that counts enough. And even if it did, I wasn't raised that way. I would expect more from those cultures other than the fact that these tribes like tacos. And the naming schemes, I guess, like that's cool. I don't hate it. It's just compared to other like peoples that we've met, they're a lot more fleshed out. Like we get the Pelu Pelu. They're traders, so they're like the Lullafels or the Numo that we've met before. They won't give you a raw deal, right? They're fair traders, and that's cool. Also, they ride llamas, so that's interesting, right? They ride llamas. They'll give you a fair deal. Their outfits are kind of neat, but nothing's really happening in their town other than the rite of succession, where you have to. Well, you don't have to. You watch Wooklamot. You don't even watch Wooklamot. Sorry. You cut to black and Wooklamot comes back with the Alpacas she needs to complete the trial. So basically what we know from the Pelu Pelu is they're traders. They wear unique clothing and they tend to llamas. I didn't do any of the yellow quests, so maybe the cultural stuff is in the yellow quests, and they could get fleshed out a lot more in the open society, whatever the hell they're calling them now. The Beast Tribe quests, I didn't think they were very good. They weren't fleshed out. They just kind of hung out and were quest givers. Same with the Vanu Vanu, which are just those bird guys from, what do you call it? Cloud Sea, right? They're from the Cloud Sea. I didn't do their Beast Tribe quests either, to be fair. So I don't know that much about the or the Vanu Vanu. But if the only thing the Vanu Vanu do is eat reeds or the equivalent of, then they're just as boring. Not interesting at all. Oh, they don't, apparently they have this ancient ritual, right? So I'm gonna confuse their names because they're basically the same. The Hanu Hanu have this magical ritual that they apparently didn't know was magical, and it brings back the food. It makes the reeds grow. So these quest lines are boring. There's also Moblins. They showed up. They're goblins, but with an M in their name. they craft things. I don't know. I don't remember that part of the quest all that well. I was pretty frustrated with how boring things were getting. And I was glazing. My eyes were glazed over, right? I don't remember shit from that area. Yeah. The yokoi are kind of cool. I like their design. They kind of remind me of a goldfish I had when I was a kid. They have cool buildings. What else did they do? They're guardians for Valley Garmonda, so that was neat. I liked Valley. He was a good fight. Yeah, I don't really remember. Oh, there was like a little bit of tension that went on between Wuklamot and some separatist yokoi. They come in and they say, we don't want to be part of Tuliolol. We want to be our own nation. We don't agree with how our ancestors basically gave up their ruling powers to your father. And that lasts about maybe a minute. And then some bird comes in, attacks one of the separatists, and Wuklamot saves him. And then they're basically friends. They say they're not. It's like, oh, I'll get you next time, Gadget. But if something comes from that, though, I'll be interested. But, yeah. So, oh, right, the Shabral and the lizards, the Mamulja. Something kind of happens with them. You learn about how they were in a war. The Mamulja live in the underforests where it's dark and nothing grows. The land is kind of barren, but not really. It's just, it doesn't grow anything that they want to eat. So they fight the Shabral, or X-Brawl, however you want to say it. I don't remember how it's pronounced. So they fight over territory. And then Galulja comes in, or Galuljaja comes in, and he beats both their armies. And that's cool. How does he settle the differences between them? Well, he makes them make tacos, and that settles it. The Mamulja go back into their dank, dark forest and just kind of fester there. They're not happy about it. They decide to constantly race mix to make these super lizards, which doesn't work that well because when the Mamulja race mix, their babies die for the most part. So the fix wasn't great for them. They kind of suffered for a very long time, but the Shabral just went on, I guess. I don't know. Tyrol in general feels very lame, toothless almost. Nothing really happens there. When we arrive, everything's pretty okay, and that's why I don't like when the Hokage is constantly talking about, we gotta keep the peace. I was like, that's already peaceful here. So what's your actual plan? Aaronville also, he's on the, what's it called? Aaronville was on a big poster, or no, a big mural on a building. It looked like he was going to be a big player this time, like our soon-to-be scion. He gets nothing, really. He's already a quiet character, right? So I don't expect him to talk much. That's fine. For the first 95 levels, he's just there to, once again, I've said it before, sort of be a cheerleader. I wouldn't call him a cheerleader. He's more of a claps when needed to, I guess. And he doesn't do much. And then finally, after the succession is over with and Wuklamot becomes the king, you get to go on a little adventure with him, and that was really cool. I was actually really hyped for this, because for one, no more Wook. At least that's what I thought at the time. And the new area was really neat. The music was so good. And Aaronville, like, I would place him C tier, maybe B tier. C tier before Dawntrail, B tier after Living Memory. He's a good character. I like him. But he doesn't get his moments until the very last part of the expansion. And they're so rushed. More rushed than Kryle's. For somebody who's on a giant mural advertising the game, that's just wrong, dude. Why'd they do him like that? And I see people online talking about how well this expansion is written, and I'm just sitting here thinking, what game are you guys playing, man? A lot of the characters that we're supposed to get something, didn't get anything. And the character that a lot of people don't like got all kinds of stuff, but it never went anywhere because she doesn't change. It's really disappointing because I love this game, dude. I really do. I don't want to doom and gloom on it too hard. There are worse expansions for games out there. I mean, just look at World of Warcraft. Oh, Shadowlands killed the lore for me on that game. Killed it. I went back. My brother paid for my sub because he wanted to raid with us. He wanted me to raid with them, right? In World of Warcraft. And the main reason I played World of Warcraft back in the day was because the lore. I'm a lore guy for video games. That's why I like Final Fantasy so much, because the lore is very consistent and it's very well written. At least from what I've read. Maybe the super lore nerds of FF can tell me it's wrong, but I think the lore here is very consistent and well written. And back in the day when I played WoW, I thought similar things up until probably up until Warlords of Draenor. It was bad in Warlords, but it wasn't dead in Warlords and BFA. Everything had a pretty good pace up until Mists. Then it kind of shit the bed in Warlords, and then it utterly destroyed itself in Shadowlands. The lore is dead to me now. I don't care about World of Warcraft's lore anymore. Dawntrail is not that. Dawntrail isn't even a Warlords of Draenor bad, because there's nothing in Dawntrail that will radiate outside of Tyrell and ruin everything else, except maybe Wuklamot if she decides to become a Scion. Don't do that, Yoshi. Don't do that, please. Don't do that, please. It's not a devastatingly bad expansion. The battle content's looking to be really good. It's just the story is so bad, man. There's no moments that I think about or that I try to like in other expansions. There are moments that I will go on YouTube or I'll go to the inn and I'll open up the journal and I'll just watch them again because they're good moments. Ardbert giving you his axe is an amazing moment. Seto and Ardbert saying goodbye to each other is an amazing moment. Another good moment is Vana when you get that flashback, right? And she sunders the world. That is an amazing scene. And there's nothing like that in Dawntrail. There's no scene that I'm gonna go back and watch because, oh, remember when Wuklamot said she's gonna believe it? Remember when Wuklamot had a tummy ache? Wasn't that so epic? Bro, remember when Wook just hogged up 90% of the screen time? I love that. What cutscene do you want to re-experience? I don't even know. I watched a lot of streamers play FF as well. Dude, there's no scenes I want to see them react to. They're all bad. Not all of them. Okay, I'm being a little bit goofy right now. They're not all bad. The Krile stuff's good. The Aaronville stuff is really good. But that happens like 40 hours into the game. So, am I really going to watch somebody stream that long over the course of weeks just to see 2, like, 3-minute scenes? Probably not. But yeah, that's my issues with Dawntrail. Bad moments, bad story. Not, again, being a little bit too much. It's a mid story. Is it dead for me? No. I still love FF. I'm gonna keep playing it. I really want to see the raid. The raid being a battle arc, or the raid being a tourney arc is super cool. I really enjoy that. I'm gonna probably play that. I'll see how the patches go. If Wuklamot becomes a main character, though, following us around throughout the rest of the world and the shards, yeah, I'm probably not gonna be too interested in that. But I don't think she will. She's got a country to lead, right? Keep her in Tyrell. Tyrell needs their Wuklamot. Oh, anyways, thanks for watching, and yeah, have a good one.